Hello, everyone, and happy Halloween. Welcome to the Just Interesting podcast, the weekly show where we discuss things that we find, well, just interesting. And we are strong believers here, as you can see, in Halloween. We've got Martin. Who are you dressed as, Martin? What are you going for?
An assortment of scary things that I found in the house.
You've kind of come as a spooky warlock.
I don't know. I mean, I imagine there's maybe something similar to this in some kind of horror film, but the dripping eyes and the child's wizard's hat. You know, it's a classic look. I'll just leave it at that.
And Robin, obviously, you've come as the Count himself.
I have, of course. Yes, it's my favorite costume.
I'm a bit worried that you like Dracula just a smidge too much, almost. You know.
Well, what can I say? Just like Dracula, I never drink wine. But that's not true. I had wine earlier. In fact, I had so much wine earlier that I forgot to save it for this podcast to make it look like I was drinking blood.
You drank a bottle of wine earlier.
I mean, not the whole thing.
Are you telling us now, whilst we're live on YouTube, that you are wasted at the moment doing this podcast?
Why else would I dress like this, Alex? Why else would I dress like this? Who are you, Alex? You look like some kind of...
Oh, Swifto's classic already.
Oh, what's he say?
Is Alex a raccoon? Oh, that's good.
A raccoon, nice. Of course, is nature's bandit. So yes, I will take it. I mean, I was, of course, going for the famous highwayman, Dick Turpin. I can't do that. I can't do that on a podcast. I can't.
You could do that for the whole thing. You could do that.
That would be terrible listening experience. But I didn't have the hat, so it's pretty lackluster. And also, this is the most uncomfortable mask. Like,
is it? Oh.
It's so scratchy. I feel like my eyes are going to get blinded. But yes, welcome everyone in the comments. For those of you listening to this at a later date on a podcast platform of your choice, you may be interested to know that we are currently live on YouTube. Not at the time that you're listening to this, probably. Unless you're listening to this at Monday night at 9 p.m. GMT, which we can say now because the clocks have gone back. But that is when we are live over on YouTube at Just Interesting. So head over, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and come and join us live every week. And this week, we are going to be discussing some of your user-submitted paranormal stories. I love these kind of stories because you get the internet, you know, we've all heard kind of loads of urban legend stories that have been copied and pasted all over the internet.
Yeah.
But what I love about this is we are going to be saying some stories that may have never seen the light of day. And I love that. I love hearing people's real kind of ghost stories. To me, those are the ones that are the most believable, the most compelling, the ones that I've got the most investment in. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. And I've been touched by how willing people have been to share in such detail these incredible stories.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So I'm excited to jump into that a little bit later. But before that, of course, we've got to go through the usual spiel. We've got to discuss some of the things that we've learned this week. We've got to discuss some of our favorite comments from the past week. And as we've been doing since the start of this season, discussing a riddle. And I've got a riddle for you this week, fellas. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So there may be a running theme with this podcast. So that's a little clue just right off the off. If you do get the answer, feel free to put it in the comments, but you may want to leave it a mystery for your fellow people on YouTube. But
the theme is gerbils.
It is. It may be gerbils. Okay, here is the riddle. The person who built it sold it. The person who bought it never used it. The person who used it never saw it. What is it? Now have a think about that, and I'll let you know the answer at the end. But yeah, I'll read it out once more time in case you missed it.
Yeah.
The person who built it sold it. The person who bought it never used it. The person who used it never saw it. What is it?
One of those, I don't know.
It's one of them riddles.
Cryptocurrencies, mate.
It's a bold guess. I'm going to have to disagree with that. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. and I'll tell you the answer at the end of the episode if I remember. Please do remind me.
Okay.
But yeah, that was your riddle this week. Now, what have we learned
Head
this
scratcher.
week? Robin, what have you learned this week?
Well, before I reveal what I learned this week, I just want to address a comment from Recu97 in the chat, because of course we are live and they're chatting along with us. He says, in regards to our costumes, I thought Martin was Robin and Robin was Martin in terms of our costume. And I thought, that's really funny. And then I noticed that our Twitter handles on screen are the wrong way around.
Oh, so yeah, of course.
That was a deliberate trick. It was part of the plot. It's all right. No need to change it. It's all about the spookiness of Halloween. Nothing is as it seems.
I just made sure that I was in the right square, and then I left it out.
And that's what matters. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
You're going to get some.
Just roll the dice and see what happens.
You're going to get some people following you on Twitter, and they think they're following Robin, but they're actually following Martin.
Ooh, and the other way around.
So scary.
So I learned this week about the world's first picture of a ghost.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2021, Professor Irving Finkel at the British Museum was going through their collection and found a hitherto forgotten Babylonian clay tablet dating back to 1500 BCE, so 3,500 years ago.
Right.
And his expertise, well, part of his expertise is that he can translate cuneiform. And on the bottom of the tablet, there's some cuneiform writing, which you can translate, but otherwise the tablet looked blank. And this tablet is about the size of your palm. It can fit in your hand. And a section of it is missing. But it looked blank, apart from this writing that's at the bottom of it, until he accidentally shined a light on it from above and saw grooves appear, shapes in the tablet, and noticed that it was a drawing of a humanoid figure being drawn by a rope by another humanoid figure. It looked like a woman pulling a man whose hands were bound with rope. Right. And then when he translated the cuneiform underneath, turned out it was, as I said, half of this tablet's missing. It was part of a kind of a rite, a ritual to exorcise a ghost.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So almost certainly this image of the woman pulling a man, it tallies with the instructions to make these clay figurines, and then you kind of trap the ghosts that's bothering you into one of these figurines, and then you get rid of the figurine. But to do that, it describes having to perform a ritual and invoke the name of the Mesopotamian god Shamash, I think, and use the rope to pull the spirit behind you into the figurine. But it ends with the words, "Don't look behind you."
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
No. Ominous.
Yeah, I know, right? So we've got almost certainly the world's oldest picture of a ghost in this Babylonian tablet, and possibly, in a way, the world's oldest ghost story as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I expect that probably is.
Don't look behind you. It's a familiar theme in ghost stories, so I like it. I like it. We haven't strayed too far from the path.
It's interesting how far back, like, it's clear that humans had this kind of belief in ghostly encounters, and that's almost I don't know. It's more believable that ghost encounters seem to have been a part, or like as long as recorded history. Like by that logic, it seems like, and it did,
absolutely, yeah.
Whereas if they just started springing up like a few hundred years ago, we'd be like, well, what happened before that? Why were we obsessed with ghosts? I'd be questioning it a bit more. But
it's not like UFOs, which are, despite a few claimed exceptions, UFOs are definitely a 20th century phenomenon. But yeah, ghosts go back all the way to the distant past. Some of the comments though do tally with my initial thoughts when I saw the picture of the of the image. Doom says, "Are we sure that's not just kink stuff?" Caroline Clark says, "Sounds dodgy, lol." I mean, to be fair, the implication of the ritual is that you need a woman to distract a male ghost that's pestering you, to draw it away and trap it in these figurines. So there is definitely some kind of sexual element to this ritual that's being described.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What
Yeah.
Intriguing.
when are they going to adapt this into a film? Do you think? Is it in the It's 3,500 years
It's going
old.
to be the next Conjuring movie. I know someone's trademarked the phrase "Don't look behind you." It's like you have to pay £1 million to Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Robin. That was suitably spooky. Martin, to continue the theme, I'm hoping that you've come up with you've learned something spooky this week.
I've learnt about carrots. No, I haven't. No, ghosts. Oh? It's ghosts.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't learnt about carrots. That would not be spooky. No, I've learnt about the different types of ghosts you can see.
Oh,
okay.
So apparently there are 5 different types of ghosts. And so you think about a ghost and, seeing someone in a haunting and they appear to you and they can, perhaps they can walk and they can talk and they can interact with you. And this type of ghost is known as an interactive personality ghost.
Oh.
But that's only one of the 5. There are other ghosts as well. There's one called a funnel ghost, which apparently is typically spotted in old buildings or historical places.
Yeah.
And they show up in photographs, leaving the person feeling unsettled, knowing that the phantom is, captured in the photo. There are wisp ghosts that are in a particular area. And those that are haunting feel cold when they appear. They also can haunt old houses, but can be seen outside in the evening or typically at night. There are poltergeists.
That's a big name.
Yes, exactly.
Big name
and that's translated. Exactly, yeah. It's superstar. Translated from the German as noisy ghosts. So they can be pretty dangerous and can actually even potentially attack you. And then the 5th type is ghost orbs. And we see these often in photographs where you'll see an orb in the background, whether it's typically white or blue, and you see them passing across in the back of videos, and people believe that they're potentially the souls of people moving in the background, traveling from one plane to another. So those are the 5 different types of ghosts that I learned about this week.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I have a couple of follow-up questions, Martin. First is actually an observation. Ghostbusters, they've got classifications of ghosts, don't they? Like class 5 free roaming vapor is the one that I can think of. So that ties into my next question, which is that based on something real? Who made these classifications?
Well, that is a damn good question. And I don't know who originally came up with it. And also, I can't remember the classifications in Ghostbusters. It's been about 15 years since I've last seen it. So I don't know how they actually tally up with those. But were they similar in Ghostbusters? Was it like a similar type of ghost classification?
I'm not sure. They kind of mentioned it offhand a couple of times in the films. I think I'm not sure if they go into that level of detail. There's probably some official tie-in book, ghost Tobin's Spirit Guide, because Tobin's Spirit Guide is real, I think, and they talk about that a lot in the films, because Dan Aykroyd's dad or granddad was a serious paranormal investigator and really believed in all this stuff and wrote books about it, I think. So I think it probably is based on probably the same classification.
Interesting.
I can imagine Dan Aykroyd on the set of Ghostbusters. They had just written a bunch of stuff about ghosts, and he was like, "No, that's incorrect. Nope, that's not right."
Almost certainly.
He was trying to get it as right as possible, like to actual paranormal research.
Oh, for sure. No, I've seen a couple of articles with these classifications just to compare the two. Yeah. And in each one, they just say kind of paranormal experts, ghost experts, come up with classification. So there isn't, it's not attributed to a single person. And I imagine has kind of developed over time as well.
Right. Yeah. So, of those 5 classifications, Martin, which one would you like to encounter if you had to encounter one of them?
Well, a poltergeist isn't one you'd probably want to encounter. That sounds incredibly scary. Yeah. So probably not the poltergeist. I mean, the orb sounds like the least threatening.
Also,
to be honest,
the orb is one where it's like, have I really encountered a ghost? Because you'd still be doubting it. It could have just been some lens flare or something.
I mean, potentially kind of the
supernatural balls.
Yeah, the mist or the wispy ghosts. They could be quite good because they can be outside as well. So it's not so don't feel like you're trapped within your own house.
Which one's Casper?
Casper, I think potentially an interactive personality ghost.
Yeah, because he can talk to you. Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Which I guess would be kind of cool.
Depending on the personality, I think I prefer the personality ghost because you have a conversation and learn something and actually know who you're dealing with, rather than is that orb threatening or not threatening? Is that wisp going to lead me to my death or not? Whereas, but if it's if it's Alex Jones's ghost, coming into your room at night, that would not be so pleasant.
Yeah. Yes, no, it definitely depends on them. He's not. Well, yeah.
He's not dead yet. I mean, I'm as of the type of person that I would not like to have their ghost haunt me. It would be that type of person.
Yeah,
yeah.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. No, yeah. It does. It's a bit of a coin flip on that one, whether you're going to get someone who's nice or not. Also, it tends to be those ones would tend to be in your house, right?
Yeah.
Like they have an affiliation with the place that you live, and so
if
you get a right dickhead of a ghost, you're stuck with them. So it's a bit of a risk. So I'm not sure about that. With the wispy ones, it's like, oh, that ghost is a dickhead, but at least it's outside and not in my house. Like, just stay outside.
Yeah.
A bit like spiders, right? Yeah.
How comes like
you're fine? Just stay outside of the house.
All the ghosts that people tend to encounter, all the ones that you hear about are like, oh, it's a little girl or like a 19th century lady of the house or something.
A white lady floating through the halls. Yeah.
Why is it never like Barry, who died a couple of years ago? Just some bloke
from eating too many Scotch eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I warned you with these Scotch eggs.
Exactly.
Just
having a quick look at the comments. Hey now, Paulie's in the chat. Hey now, Paulie.
Hey now, Paulie.
He says, I just got here. Happy Halloween. Is Martin dressed up as Boy George?
Oh, that's what I was going for.
Actually.
Hold on a second. It might be Boy George. Might be in disguise.
Actually, it's Boy George.
A couple of comments as well about Dan Aykroyd. Ian William Davidson says, you guys should do an episode on Dan Aykroyd. And Bush says Dan Aykroyd went on Joe Rogan and said he saw a UFO. And Dan Aykroyd, he also claimed to have seen the Men in Black, and he is a true believer.
He's a true believer, yeah. And also one of the most unsung, influential comedy writers in history. People know him for his Crystal Skull vodka, but actually,
is that what people know Dan Aykroyd for now? His Crystal Skull.
I don't know. People, he's reached a legendary level of fame. People just know Dan Aykroyd, and they're always like, a bit weird, but we like him.
He's Elwood Blues, isn't he? That's what he is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Elwood Blues in my heart.
Thank you for letting us know what you learned this week, Martin. Are you all right, Robin?
I was going to ask Alex, what did you learn this week?
Oh, yeah, I was just about to say. So I wanted to, I was trying to find something spooky, and this wasn't really the kind of thing I was after. I was after something like ghost facts and stuff. This turned into more medical, gory stuff, but I just found this so interesting that I just have to share it. So, have you ever heard of osteoodontokeratoprosthesis? Have you ever heard of that?
Ever heard of that? Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. So this is otherwise known as tooth and eye surgery. And it's kind of how it
doesn't
sounds.
Sound good.
So it's a unique form of artificial cornea surgery to restore the vision of patients with the most severe end-stage forms of corneal blindness. So it's to restore vision in people's eyes. And it's really, really bizarre. And I cannot believe how this works and the fact that it works at all, or how it was even discovered. But basically what it involves is it's several stages. But the first stage is they basically remove one of your teeth from the person who needs that eye fixing. And then they sew the tooth into their cheek for a few months. And then they take it out and then they implant that into their eye. And it somehow restores their vision. I'm not sure how it works, but this actually is a legitimate thing. It's not something.
It actually is a thing.
Yeah, it's a surgery that they do today. So yeah, there's different stages of OOKP. It's called osteodonto. Yeah.
Right, so they take a tooth
Wow.
from your jaw,
So I'll go
sew
through
it
the
into your
stages.
cheek,
I'll go.
and a few months later, they put the tooth into your eye.
Yep. So the eye is this is the stages that they go through in the surgery. The eye is opened up, and the entire inner surface of the eyelids, corneal surface, and scar tissue, if it's scarred, then is removed.
Right.
The inner mucosal lining of the cheek is transplanted onto the new surface of the eye. Then
Right.
a canine or premolar tooth and part of the adjacent bone and ligaments are removed. And then they attach a bolt-shaped structure fashioned from the tooth, and it's fitted to a plastic optical cylinder.
Nuts.
This is then implanted into the patient's cheek to grow a new blood supply.
Okay.
And then about 4 months later, there's a separate procedure where this cheek lining is opened over the eye, what they did originally.
Yeah.
And then the tooth bone cylinder is removed from the cheek and inserted into the eye. And then the lining is kind of replaced over the eye, like a skin graft, basically.
Yeah.
And then at the end
I'll just go blind. It's fine.
So, and then the way that this works is now, because of this, light can enter the plastic cylinder, which is attached to the tooth. And I don't know what the tooth, how the tooth helps. So this was just a bit of background. This was
How'd you work this out?
Just a bit of background.
This was pioneered in the early 1960s by an Italian professor called...
okay. After LSD was discovered, yeah. This makes sense.
This is a legitimate procedure that they do today.
I'm sure it is.
I have no idea.
So it's breaking my neck.
I have no idea how this was discovered, but I just thought this was a bit gory, involved teeth and eyes and implanting one into the other. So it's pretty Halloween-y.
This is mad.
But
that's heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm sure it's based on that kind of science where an understanding on a molecular level or a cellular level, I suppose, on how the body works and the various body parts. Presumably it started with, oh, you know what? These cells in the teeth are basically the same as the ones in the retina. We could actually do something here.
Yeah.
However, like that's so there's so many stages to that. How on earth? Okay, so I've got so many questions. Like, firstly, how do they think it would start? Like, how many stages did they come up with before they tried it on somebody? How many failed attempts did it take before they realized they needed extra stages? And then how many times did they get, to get to those final, 4 or 5 stages, did they get it? How many people suffered? What? How? Just how? How did they get to this point? Yeah. How? Yeah, exactly. And like, just like, how do you explain that as well to the patient? They've got to be very desperate or very ignorant, right? You've got to sit there and the consultant's like, so we could do this procedure. I was like, okay, will it restore my eyesight? And say, yes, it will. What do you do? Okay.
You're not going to believe this.
Yeah, just lie back, keep your eyes open, and we'll start right now. Start right now.
Oh man, yeah. I'm just gonna. Why my teeth though? Don't worry. We'll just try the teeth. I don't. Yeah. Oh,
Oh, I bit my cheek. Oh, that's gonna happen every single day for the next few months. Sorry,
don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. That's not gonna be an issue.
I just don't understand.
How did this professor, even like talking to his peers and stuff, they were like, oh, it would be great if we could cure vision. And he was like, listen, Dave, I've got this idea. Hear me out. Hear me out. It involves teeth. The teeth are the key.
How do the old tooth eye trick?
Yeah. But also just like, bring me another blind person. I need to test my method.
That's ultimately very disgusting.
This blind person doesn't have any teeth. Oh, crap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what if they only have one tooth left? It's like you can have you can chew food or you can have your vision. It's up to you.
It's up to you. Do you want to see what you're eating? Well then, I mean, come to my office.
In fairness, you can have donors as well, so it didn't have to be your personal teeth.
Okay.
Oh yeah, great. I want someone else's tooth in my mouth. Fantastic.
My
Into the mouth bit that freaks me out. It's like,
oh yeah, that too.
I mean, would you
kissing someone, but you're a complete stranger?
But wouldn't you?
It'd be a bit weird to have a tooth in your cheek.
I'd still probably choose that. Like, I wouldn't really want to lose one of my teeth for this, but if it was a choice, I don't know.
No.
How many donors do they get?
I would.
It's going to be dead people, isn't it? It's going to be dead people.
Yeah, lots. Yeah.
Would you
It's
like
got
a dead person's tooth in your cheek and then in your eye?
Ugh. Oh, that's really disgusting.
Also,
That's really
because
horrible.
like with is it cataracts? Is that the one where your eyes kind of fog up? And they do
that's right.
they do lens replacements, and they slice open your eye, and they kind of lift the flap, and they take the lens out and put the new plastic lens in. You're awake for that, and you have your eyes open. So that means the first stage of this thing, where they're cutting open your eye and scraping out the stuff, you're going to be awake and seeing that, in inverted commas, happen.
Yeah. No, also very horrible. Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
man.
That's what I learned this week. So I feel like we've had a nice broad range of topics covered.
We have indeed. Yeah.
Grim.
I like that. I think we've covered the different genres of horror. Been like traditional ghost story, more sci-fi ghost story from Martin, and then proper horror porn. Gorno from Alex.
Gorno. Nice. But shall we get into the meat of this podcast and discuss some of your submitted ghost stories? What do you say? Shall we get into it?
Yes, we should. We should.
Let's do that.
We should.
Welcome back. So I've got some spooky songs that I thought we could play to set the mood for this one. But did one of you? We've chosen some to read out. Who wants to take the lead on this?
Martin, with his wonderful warlocky, witchy face.
Oh yes. Okay.
And also,
so
I will just. Sorry, I just wanted to address
the
comments. Microtech has sent in something as a super late submission. So thank you for sending that in. I think we'll see maybe with the time, but we'll try and get to that if we can. But thank you so much for sending that in.
Awesome. So the first story I got this evening comes from Dean Longo. So thank you, Dean, for sending this in. And Dean says, a big fan of the pod, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. I live in South Florida in an area that isn't very populated. One night while having a campfire with one of my closest friends, fuck yeah. So distracting. Let's carry on.
Spooky music.
One night while having a campfire with one of my closest friends, Yusuf, we decided that since the fire died down, we would take the opportunity to go for a walk and look at the stars. Keep in mind, this must have been at least 2 a.m. in the morning when this occurred. We have done this many times before, so this was not out of the ordinary. Our walk started off normal. Our walks usually would be us circling the large block of land my street is on, making a circle and coming back to my house eventually. However, on this specific walk, while turning the corner of my block onto the block directly behind mine, we noticed something extremely creepy. Without saying anything to each other, we both stopped in our tracks, as we could see a white pale-looking animal hunched over in the middle of the road. There's no streetlights on this street, so we are in the pitch black, except for a light that is a little less than a half mile behind where this animal was sitting. I don't know if it had noticed us or not, but seemingly as soon as we noticed it, it began to run from left to right onto an embankment of a neighbouring yard. Now, when I say run, it was running, but on all fours. If for the detail I'm about to tell you didn't exist, I would easily... If for the detail I was about to tell you didn't exist, I would easily be able to explain away this experience by saying it was a hairless cat, dog, coyote, etc. The weirdest and freakiest thing about the animal was the way it ran, and appeared it had arms and legs. You know the way other four-legged animals run, where the legs are kind of just going back and forth? Well, this wasn't it. The way it ran was that of something with ball-jointed shoulders, like a human would run on all fours. It's hard to describe in text, but imagine the front limbs doing full circular orbitals while running instead of how you'd imagine a four-legged animal to run. That very detail is what makes this whole thing extremely creepy to me. I personally believe in the Skinwalker, as I've heard some extremely unsettling things in the middle of the night living here, along with one of my neighbours down the road actively practicing witchcraft and sacrifices weekly. I've attached a photo of this neighbour's tree in which they've hung a bull's skull from, for whatever reason. I personally believe that these neighbours are conducting witchcraft of some sort and have cursed our land, which was inhabited by natives years and years ago. I believe this was a skinwalker we encountered. and walking around my block has never felt the same since this experience.
Ooh.
Well, that
creepy.
was definitely freaky.
Very creepy.
Ooh.
I could probably put the image up on screen of the. I mean, it's the kind of the cow head in the.
Yeah.
This was
Do you
a great
still-
story because it came with
Yeah.
an image
Yeah.
attachment. Yeah.
Fancy that, living next or down the street from a real witch who sacrifices things and has an animal skull in the tree outside their house as some kind of spiritual channeler or something. Really odd.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
Thank you so much.
I think I'd move.
But I thought this was quite an interesting one because it wasn't just like a normal ghost story. It was about like something paranormal with Skinwalker, which is its own separate thing. And yeah, what do you guys think? Do you believe in the Skinwalker?
If I saw one, yeah.
Imagine we were talking about what ghosts you would like most or least like want to see.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Skinwalker is not what you're walking down in the middle of nowhere at like 2 a.m. and you see something on all fours doing the kind of crab walk, I guess.
Gambling, yeah.
I'm kind of imagining it like in The Exorcist, you know.
Yeah, the spider crawl, yeah.
The spider crawl, but
yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe that's not what it kind of means. But
no, I thought the description was quite good in the end, and the way you read it, Martin. I think I could see the way it was moving in my mind, and yeah, that would be really freaky in the middle of the night. An albino creature moving like that. It's clearly something weird, something else. And yeah, if you've got reason to believe that there's Skinwalker activity in your area, then why wouldn't you come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to know exactly what, because you go through the animals, don't you, of what it could possibly be. And Swifto says a shaved bear, maybe? I mean, perhaps it could be a bear without any fur.
Yeah.
Would move in a little bit differently to say like a coyote, but it seems like it was much smaller by his description.
Yeah.
You know, saying it wasn't a coyote, it wasn't a, saying the things it wasn't. I'm sure that would have been a little bit more of a description of its size if it had been a bear, unless it was like a baby bear. I don't know, but
could be really, really shaved owl.
Shaved owl. Have you seen shaved owls?
Yes,
I think we showed one.
Sprang to mind. Yeah, they're freaky looking things without the feathers,
and they don't have arms. They only have like legs. They've got wings.
Exactly.
It's not a shaved owl. No,
it's clearly a Skinwalker. Yeah.
Really weird. Really
Fascinating. Fascinating stuff.
Thanks for sharing that story with us. I've got a story from Oliver, which I could read out next.
Yeah, go for it.
Please do.
It's a bit of a longer one, so I beg your patience whilst I read this thing out. But it's a very traditional kind of Halloween experience, I guess, because this is the story of how I, Oliver, might have grown up in a haunted house. Parts of this story I believe are true. The rest I know is true. I grew up in an old house. You have to expect the occasional drafty cold spot and odd creaking noises that could sound like footsteps as the house settles. Everything seemed fine at home, except for in the living room. For some reason, our big, boisterous dog refused to enter the room when he was happy to bounce around anywhere else. As kids, my younger brother and I were always being blamed for losing the TV remote, or moving furniture, or, the big one for most dads, leaving the living room lights on. We both denied the accusations, but my parents saw no other explanations. I was around 15 years old when I came home from school to find a mirror on the floor in our living room. It hadn't smashed, its fastenings hadn't snapped, and the screws that should have held it on the wall were intact. It looked as if someone had taken it down and placed it against the wall. The odd thing was that nobody had been in the house at the time. My dad joked that it must have been the ghost, and my mum did not think it was funny. My brother and I had no idea what he was talking about. We weren't a family of believers. It turns out that before we had moved in, my parents had been friends with another couple. The wife, we'll call her Pam, had lived in the village her whole life and had actually been friends with the family who lived in our home when she was a kid in the 60s and 70s. The grandfather of that family had been a miserable old git who, due to his failing health, had been confined to a single room, which would become our living room. Apparently, he'd been something of a troublemaker, throwing items around, using language not fit for polite company, and the like. Every time Pam visited the house, they had to greet the grandfather and she dreaded it. Eventually, the grandfather passed on and his room was sealed up and never used by the family again. Pam assumed this was out of respect for him. At the time the story was told to Oliver, me, I thought my dad was having a laugh, but as the years rolled on, I wondered every time a CD would go missing, even though its case was on the shelf, where I was sure I'd turned the lights off, only to find them on in the living room once more. My brother and I eventually moved out and made our own homes. I put the ghost story to the back of my mind, just chalking it up to a series of odd, but not spooky, coincidences. Until last Christmas. I hadn't been back to my parents' home for quite some time due to the various COVID lockdowns. They had mentioned they were redecorating, but I was quite surprised to see the results. The new living room was about half the size of the old one. If I was being generous, I would say it was cozy even when I was growing up, and it was a home office now. The old living room had been stripped of its furniture, the light bulbs had been removed from the fittings, and a lock had been fitted to the door. I asked my dad what the plan for the room was, but he didn't want to talk about it. I asked if it was a little inconvenient with them working from home and no longer having an office to use. He still did not want to talk about it. I asked my mum what was going on. I wondered if there was asbestos in the old living room or a leak or anything rational that would explain why they were almost pretending like there wasn't a perfectly good room they could take advantage of on the other side of a locked door. All she would tell me is that once they realized it wasn't my brother and I messing around in the living room, they thought it was best to leave the situation alone. Since then, I've tried to pry further information from my parents, asking if there was a particular incident that made them make this decision, wondering how their new dogs felt about the room, but they've remained tight-lipped. Although this isn't crazy behavior from my parents, it is very out of character. Normally, you can't shut my dad up, and my mum absolutely loves to gossip, yet on the subject of this living room, they're reluctant to say a word.
Very spooky.
Yeah, and that's the end of the story.
That was an amazingly well told story as well. Like, well done.
Nice one, Oliver. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really sucked in there. For that
Very
one.
good.
It had all the hallmarks of a great ghost story as well. You know.
Yeah.
You had the old, like the potential backstory for who the ghost could have been.
I know. Yeah.
They moved out and then they hadn't been there for a while. I liked it.
I think simple things like that, unexplained objects moving around, noises, lights turning on and off, those are not just classic tropes for ghost stories, but also they're the things that really get to me because they are so ordinary, you know, but so little and so like persistent. And they're the kind of things where you just kind of, there's no real rational explanation for them. Yeah, they're so ordinary and everyday, it's hard to immediately leap to the conclusion that there's something supernatural going on. You know, they just tread that fine line between, am I mad? Or is there actually something weird going on? And I think that's what's particularly frightening to me about ghosts, is that there's something there doing stuff whilst you're not looking. That's what gets me.
Like the ghost just gently taking down a mirror attached to the wall.
Yeah.
Like just not smashing it or anything, just unscrewing it and putting it down on the ground. Yeah.
And I mean, I immediately thought, what's the significance behind that as well? Like, does it not like the look of its own reflection? Did something happen to it? You know, was it potentially even disfigured in its life?
Maybe
you know, there's lots of opens up your imagination, doesn't it, as to why it would take that down.
Absolutely. You need to interrogate Pam and find out what she knows about the granddad and what kind of things he liked and didn't like.
Yeah. And your dad just suddenly not speaking about it too.
That's just weird.
Yeah, out of character. You think you get something out of him, but no, he won't speak. He won't utter a word about it. Very, very interesting.
It's always more convincing when it's the people that don't tend to believe in that kind of thing as well, and they're just like they're not utilizing a room in their house because they're kind of a bit scared of something that is, you know, not something that they would typically believe in. And that is, I always find that more believable when the people that are believing in it are naturally skeptical. It's always a bit more compelling than the person that's seen 100 ghosts everywhere they go. Anyway, I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Oh, great story though. Great story. Shall we move on to another one?
Yes, please.
Yes, let's.
I could read Caleb's one, who is in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
And is
Hey,
also,
Caleb.
as they mentioned, a proud Patreon supporter. So thank you so much for your support, Caleb. And C.S. Drummerson on YouTube. Yeah. I just want to, yeah. He goes on and says, happy to watch Just Interesting and stick around, like has been sticking around for ages. But so thank you, Caleb. Yeah, let me share the story. And let me play some freaky music. Oh, actually, I did just want to address something in the comments first. Ian William Davidson says, this is in regards to the Skinwalker story. Isn't it a bit weird that someone's just going around shaving a bear?
Good point, yes. Swifto, there's a flaw in your theory.
Someone's going around, as he says, with a Gillette Mac 3 shaving woodland animals. That is very weird.
Yeah, that would be a red flag, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that was an actual theory, though, for that maybe it was the Chupacabra, or it could have been Skinwalker, but it's not someone shaving the bear, but it's
hairless.
It's got like a skin condition or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was funny and I wanted to raise that. But anyway, yes, let's get on to Caleb's story. So let me play some music. Oh, here we go. Okay. I can share this story with open-minded individuals such as yourselves and your audience. I was 7 years old when I moved into the big yellow house in rural West Frankfort, Illinois. Let me just turn down the music a little bit. I moved in with my pregnant mother, stepfather, and one younger brother. We could have lived comfortably with 4 bedrooms, but this house had 6 and sat on 14 acres of land. The build of the house was odd, as it had a second floor but no staircase. The upstairs could only be accessed by climbing a ladder in one of the bedrooms on the first floor. The bedrooms upstairs were connected by a short hallway, meaning you had to walk through one to enter the other. One bedroom had no windows, the other had only one. Within the first year of living there, we made some dramatic changes to the home, such as building a staircase, building a 7th bedroom, and replacing the siding on the house. In many books or movies based on haunted homes, it seems as if the entity connects with one individual in the family, usually an especially vulnerable child. That child, in this case, was me. For the first couple of years, increasingly terrifying events happened to me and only to me. It started off as your typical footsteps, creaks and moans, shadows in the corner of my eye. Just like in the movies, my parents gave me excuses. It's the wind. It's just an old house. It was just a bad dream. Eventually, I stopped talking to them about what I was experiencing. That was when things began to escalate. On one occasion, I was waiting for my stepfather to return from work. The front of our house had glass double doors, and I had my face pressed against the glass to lessen the glare from the lights inside as it was dark out. When I pulled away from the door, the reflection of the glass revealed a woman behind me. Her head was hanging in sadness, and her face was littered with bleeding cuts. I later saw that woman again in a mirror. Another incident occurred when I was in the shower. Our shower doors are made of glass. I was doing my business in the shower like any other night when I happened to look.
Sorry,
just washing yourself, I guess.
Okay.
Phrased in a strange way, let's say, but yes. I happened to look out and saw a little boy between 5 and 8 years old crawling across the floor to me, completely nude. I screamed my lungs out, and after this incident, my mother wondered if I may have had psychological issues. I often heard voices, loud, booming voices, contrary to the usual whispers one might hear in the movies. These sounded as if loudspeakers were planted around my home and someone somewhere was yelling into them. I remember one incident that occurred during dinner. My family and I were sat around the dinner table eating when I began hearing loud voices, deafening voices. Nobody else seemed to notice, and I didn't want to sound crazy, so I didn't say anything. However, I began to subconsciously speak very loudly, attempting to drown out the voices. My mother found this very rude and scolded me for it. Perhaps the scariest part of this is that they never spoke English. To this day, I have no clue as to what the voices may have been saying.
Oh.
For some time, while my aunt was down on her luck, my mother hired her to clean while we were away on vacation or at school. The first time my aunt arrived to clean, she brought her daughter, my cousin, Laurencia. Laurencia was only around 8 or 9 years old at the time, but was already known in our family to have a sixth sense. While cleaning, my aunt called my mother, complaining that she heard folk music but could not find the source. The television, stereo, gaming systems, etc. were all turned off. Sometime later, Laurencia began to scream. She begged to leave my house. On the way home, Laurencia explained to her mother that she could see another family inside: a woman, a crying baby, an old man comforting the baby, and a dog. This was the first time anyone else had experienced anything else in the house, and I was relieved to find some confirmation. Laurencia refused to return to my house, and on the rare event that she did visit, for birthday parties, she refused to go inside. I was 11 years old and had a friend from school at the house. We were alone, playing video games when we both heard a loud, horrifying baby's cry. It scared us both out of the house until my parents returned. That house was one and only place I ever experienced sleep paralysis. On one occasion, I felt as if someone were standing on my chest, a great weight crushing my ribs. I couldn't move, breathe, or scream. This went on for several minutes. All the while I could hear a dragging sound, not unlike shuffling feet. The room I was in had a carpet floor, but was once a concrete patio outside that we basically just added walls to create an extra room. I never saw anything during the sleep paralysis episodes, only heard a heavy dragging sound approaching my bed and stopping just as it would have reached me. There are two incidents that stand out when I reflect on the events that took place in that house. The first being the possession I had a friend in middle school. The first being the possession. I had a friend in middle school, a friend who the entity or whatever it was in the house especially disliked. This friend was named Alex. Ooh, spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Once, just as Alex was walking into my house, a picture was flung from its spot on the wall and crashed into the side of his head.
Oh my gosh.
By the time of the possession, others in the house had all had their share of experiences. For some reason, we felt the safest in my middle brother's room, so when he had friends over, we would all sleep in that room. One night, Alex fell asleep first, which was unusual for him, as he always complained about being the last one up. Despite this, my brother and I didn't think much of it. Only a few minutes later, Alex sat up. He looked my brother in the eye and then bit him. Alex bit my brother so hard he drew blood. My brother pushed him off and he turned towards me. He had a crazy look in his eyes. It was like it wasn't Alex anymore, but an entirely new person. He ran toward me and bit me as well. I eventually got him off me and he stumbled back. He began laughing hysterically, but it was the oddest thing. His body didn't correspond with his voice. His body was perfectly still, but a hysterical laugh was coming from his mouth. After several terrifying seconds of this, his nose began to ooze blood from both nostrils. Just as the blood was coming out, his body went limp and he collapsed on the floor like dead weight. After he regained consciousness, he had no recollection of what had happened. He thought he was asleep the entire time. The next and last story was by far the worst. My mother, a medical practitioner, worked nights and agreed we could only have a friend over during the day if we stayed outside, so not to disturb her sleep. We were happy to oblige, but as the day wore on, the three of us became tired and thirsty. We were never allowed to use the double doors on the front of the house, as my mother preferred we entered through the garage, which had a door that led to the kitchen. As the three of us entered the garage, kicked off our shoes, and were puzzled to find that the door was locked. Yes, my mother wanted us outside, but she would never lock us out. Not wanting to wake her, We decided to put my younger brother through his bedroom window. We did just that, and we walked through the house and out the door we had originally tried to enter. My brother stayed behind to replace the screen on the window, while my friend and I walked back around the house to make our way inside. Alex went first. He opened the door and reached his arm inside to turn on the light when the door slammed shut on his arm. We were shocked. The door opened again, but he was unable to pull his arm out. It was as if someone were pulling him inside. He tried his best to pull his arm out, but was unable to, and the door slammed shut again, then opened, then shut. This happened at least 4 or 5 times, just opening and slamming on his arm.
Anyhow.
Finally, the door slammed on his arm and stayed shut, squeezing his arm. Alex was crying and his skin was already bruising. We both slammed our weight against the door as hard as we could and finally got the door to loosen its grip. Alex pulled his arm out and immediately the door slammed shut. He fell to the ground clutching his arm. I stood, staring at the door in front of me, working up the courage to do something. Finally, I reached out to the door and turned the knob. It was locked. I looked over to see my brother in the doorway to the garage, feet away from us, eliminating the only culprit I could think of. And then he goes on to say this email merely scratches the surface of his experiences.
Oh, bloody hell.
It would take days to read if I touched on every experience my family went through. I mean, do you know what? Fair play to Alex. He must have been a good friend to keep coming back to this house.
Yeah, after that door incident. I'm surprised his arm wasn't broken.
That sounds insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But thank you so much for sharing all of those stories. There's so much.
Before you got even, before you got even halfway through that story, Alex, my brain was just screaming, "Get out of that house! Get out of that house!" It was the young boy in the shower, I think. Actually, no, the woman in the mirror. That was like no, leave the house.
That's
leave
it.
the house.
Done. Yeah.
And then the boy in the shower, and then that crazy stuff with the door, and that's just no.
Yeah, I mean, there's some
ridiculous,
really scary stuff there. What gets me is the hearing voices, but it's not even like quiet voices. It's voices screaming at you.
Screaming.
Ooh,
yeah,
horrible.
In a language you can't understand, because that's. I'm guessing the person who's experienced this can't even remember the words exactly, so they haven't been able to identify the language ever since.
Yeah,
because there's that question of, is it foreign ghosts who don't speak your language, or is it some kind of effect of the spirit realm on the ability to communicate? These ghosts are trying to speak to you in English, but it's just not happening because they're on a different plane and it's just coming out as this garbled, terrifying rubbish.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Caleb says that their parents were making excuses like, oh, it's just the wind. But some of these are not just the wind.
That's not the wind, yeah.
How do you explain Alex getting possessed or his arm getting the door slammed on him? Like, 4 or 5
the door could be the wind. The door could be the wind, yeah.
I'm also interested to know if your parents have changed their tune after so many different, different experiences, paranormal experiences. Yeah. Whether that's changed their thoughts at all, because you think it might do. They might have come away from their skepticism. But yeah, my goodness, that's really scary. And as you say, Alex, a lot to unpack. Probably too much to unpack for us to go into loads and loads of detail about.
So much there, yeah.
But at the same time, Caleb, next year as well, if you've got loads, just keep them coming. Just send them through whenever you like. We'll make a back catalogue of your experiences, because that is just absolutely terrifying.
That is, yeah. And please, Caleb, please confirm, are you okay? And is Alex okay?
Yeah.
Has he come back?
How are things now for you?
I hope that you're living a little bit more peacefully from the spirit realm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just terrifying. Gosh.
Well, it's going to be tough to top that.
That's just, that's... I've got a much less serious story from a friend of mine actually, who told me the story just a couple of weeks ago, earlier this very month, October 2022. They're Swedish, and they come back from Sweden, come over to London for a wedding at the beginning of October. And I know them, I've known them for years now, and they're a very intelligent, highly intelligent person. In fact, they went to Cambridge University, and they've got postgraduate qualifications as well. They're a very clever being, and they're a very successful professional too. Anyway, and she came over from Sweden for this wedding, and I met up with her after the wedding to say hello. And she told me that the day of the wedding, it was taking place, I think, in a hotel. So not particularly fancy hotel, but a nice hotel. And the wedding was in the hotel, so she was staying in the hotel. But she made a very quick flying trip. You know, the wedding was on the Saturday. She arrived on the Friday night, went to the hotel straight away, and then the wedding was the whole day on the Saturday, and then she went to bed, in her room at about 11 o'clock at night because she was feeling tired from the jet lag, and she's been teetotal for a while, I think. So she wasn't drinking. Yeah. That's an important point. She was not drinking. And she went to her room, and her room was on the 3rd or 4th floor. And on her journey from Sweden on the flight, she'd been listening to music on her phone, to pass the time. But as soon as she arrived on the Friday night, she, didn't listen to any music because the first thing she did was go to bed. And then she woke up in the morning and was getting ready for the wedding, and then went to the wedding all day. Hadn't listened to any music on her phone. And she went to bed at 11 p.m. on Saturday night, feeling very tired, and kind of went straight to sleep. Until at 3 a.m., she was woken up by music playing top volume from her phone.
Oh, no, don't like
And her phone was not on her bedside table. Her phone was across the room on a little table in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
She was nowhere near it. And the song, I can't remember what the song was, but the song was not one of the songs on the playlist that she'd been listening to on the journey over.
What's the creepiest song that it could have been?
Yeah, if you think about that. So she gets up, really confused, picks up the phone, turns off the music, is really puzzled by what the heck did this, because the phone's locked as well. So then she goes back to bed. But when she gets to the bed, she kind of gets on it and feels like she's not the only person on the bed. Oh. She can't see anything or anyone or any animal or cat or anything. It's a hotel. But she can feel a weight on the bed. But she gets into bed, but then she feels the weight shift on the bed. And, imagine she's in the fetal position and the weight kind of presses on the bed next to her knees and just stays there. And she's really freaked out by this and just like, what is going on? So she tries to move, but the weight kind of follows her knees. And
I don't like it.
No, I don't want to do a disservice to this hotel, but afterwards, can you let me know where it is so I can never ever go?
Never go there. Yeah, I'll have to ask her. And she just couldn't sleep for hours until eventually, through sheer exhaustion, she did fall asleep at about 5, 6 a.m. And then when she woke up, there was no weight. Everything was fine. The room was calm.
No. Ooh.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I mean, yeah, I'm curious though, like what would... So there's a great bit, I guess it's not really spoiler, but have you seen, either of you seen Stranger Things?
Yes.
Yeah.
The season 1 bit where it's, that song comes on, it switches itself on and it's, should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
That's such like a great scene where they're fleeing, but then that song comes on and it's literally like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So I wonder what could be the creepiest song to come on, something like upbeat, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Got my eye on you.
Oh yeah.
I've got my eye on you.
Yeah.
Sweetie pie. Yeah. I think an old song would be spookier, creepier. Yeah, if it's an old golden oldie, rather than a modern Kanye or something.
Every breath you take.
I'll be watching you.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Somebody's watching me. Why do I feel like somebody's watching me? Because I am. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, what other stories have we been sent?
Well, I have another one.
You've got another one, Martin?
I do. And it's from an anonymous source, or a source that doesn't particularly want to be named. So we will respect those wishes. But here is the story. So back in 2009, I was working as a process auditor for a company and was sent to a warehouse in California to audit their inventory.
It's already too scary. Too scary.
Yes. Many of the warehouse employees assisted in the audit, so I often was teamed up to count the inventory locations. Many of the employees were from South America, and it was interesting to learn more about them. During this time, I was listening to a podcast called Hometown Tales, which dealt with creepy tales from around the world and would attempt to break the ice, asking if they had ever seen any monsters they would like to tell me about. I was teamed up with a man named Edward from El Salvador, who was initially quite intimidating, though once I asked if he had ever seen a chupacabra, he laughed, but then said he had. He laughed, but then said he had a story to tell me. There was an older man in his hometown who was spending the night at his girlfriend's house. It was hot, so the man said he was going to sleep out on a hammock in her porch. After a few moments, she heard him loudly struggling with the hammock, then got it to work. But as he laid there, she said he was still complaining and growing increasingly frustrated, though she said it didn't make sense since the weather was often hot and he had slept in that hammock before. He grew so upset that he decided to go home. She went back to bed. The next day, she did not hear from him. At lunch, the girlfriend left work to go check on him. When she got to his house, she found that he was standing on a chair with a rope around his neck, tied to his rafter. He was crying blood from his eyes, and he stepped off the chair and killed himself. While the man was being prepared for burial, his grave was dug into the town cemetery. The gravedigger, as he was nearly done digging the grave, his shovel struck glass. The gravedigger saw it was a now broken bottle with a photo of the man who had killed himself.
What?
So interesting. So there was
bizarre.
So there was a bottle of the man with a photo inside of the man who killed himself as he was digging the grave for the man.
What? What does that mean?
Did someone know that was going to happen? And what does the hammock? What does the hammock have to do with this as well?
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that he was struggling and was obviously in distress. So something that night seemed to have caused him to have such distress that the next day he actually ended up killing himself.
And they said he was...
That's dark.
His eyes were oozing blood, did you say?
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't
crying
seem
blood
like
from his eyes.
That doesn't seem like it's anything natural. Like, it's caused that, really.
You wouldn't have thought so, would you?
So.
That's a proper horror movie kind of trope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Blood coming from the eyes like this. Ooh, but red.
I like that.
I was just, if anyone listening, I was just showing my eyes into the camera. And anyone listening as well, he doesn't know we're all wearing costumes and I have some black dripping makeup around my eyes.
Yeah, that was very important to clarify, in fairness. Yeah,
I know. It needs to be done. Yep.
That was a very creepy one. Yeah.
Was. Very strange, very strange.
Oh, Robin, I can't hear you.
It's fear of the unknown. Is that unexplained element at the end there, that twist that you're just like, what? How does it all connect? But it clearly does connect, but how?
Yeah, definitely.
I think, did we get a follow-up email to that, actually? And the person sent a follow-up message, I believe.
Yes, I'm just going to find it quickly now. So Edward didn't want to openly say, but implied it was a woman who he had dated. Sorry, it was a woman who had dated the man before, and that she may have been a witch.
Ooh. So,
and that's with a photo in the bottle.
Oh, I guess
like a curse thing.
So a scorned lover did some kind of ritual and yeah, maybe it was a kind of cursed him and made him do what he did. I like it. I like it. Spooky. Very spooky.
Very spooky. Very spooky.
I don't like it.
I mean, imagine if you were the person digging the grave, though, and you knew who you were digging the grave for, and then you stumble across a bottle with a picture of the person's face in it. That would be it. Nah, can't do this anymore. I'm out. I'm checking out.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
See you never. Goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's
a lot of graves these days are done with little diggers. They'll not like spades and shovels, but little digging machines.
JCBs.
What do they call them? JCBs. Yeah. I wonder if they'd I wonder if these days you'd miss that kind of thing. You scoop up a big load of earth with the bottle and the picture and just dump it in a skip. I wonder how often that has been overlooked, those kind of weird circumstances, because of the changing technology.
Yeah. Poltergeists hate this one weird trick. Has science gone too far? Yeah. I have another really interesting story, actually, that we can read. It's not too long. This is from...
Well, be careful, Alex. This is the Just Interesting podcast. So really interesting stories. Pushing it.
Yeah, I'll dull it down a little bit because it might be
please.
Interesting.
Take the edges off. Yeah.
This is from Asim Malik, who emailed us the story.
Yeah. Hey, Asim.
So, true story. My uncle, now retired, was a pilot in the Pakistani Air Force in the 1980s. He's quite a serious, sensible, logical type of guy, which makes this story even more unsettling for me. In 1988, one evening, he was on night duty at an airbase. He went into a hangar with only a flashlight. He was taking a stroll to pass some time. Looking around, there was a plane. I believe it was an F-4 Phantom II. He kicked the tires, so to speak. As he was walking away, he heard a knocking sound from the cockpit glass. He turned around, and he saw a person in the cockpit grinning at him. The person was wearing those old goggles and scarves that the old pilots used to wear. It was an empty hangar. The overhead lights were off, and nobody was supposed to be there. I don't remember what my uncle did next, but I think he got out of there ASAP. Yeah, I don't blame him, to be honest. I'm not saying I believe this, but it is common knowledge that a lot of parts from plane crashes often get salvaged and recycled. The idea that departed souls might be able to retain some relationship with inanimate objects, or perhaps people who die before their time, so to speak, such as plane crashes, are somehow trapped is quite disturbing. Unrelated to the story, he goes on to say he's open to the concept of ghosts simply because scientists largely agree that string theory and the equations point to parallel universes, states, higher dimensions. I wonder if there's any connection in that respect. Perhaps some kind of overlap between these universes. One theory about dark matter is that it's the point at which our universe is touching another bubble universe, for example. And I think that's a really interesting point. And I kind of like that idea that if ghosts do exist, then it's eventually could be a scientific explanation for it, the phenomenon. You know, there's kind of parallel universes and it's universes touching each other or something. So I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. And the idea that parts of planes that were refurbished from plane crashes, like spirits of the people that died in those plane crashes, could somehow be linked to just.
I like that idea a lot. Yeah,
that's a really interesting.
Because I mean, I think that goes way back, doesn't it? To at least the 19th century, the idea that ghosts are attached to objects. And certainly, the classic thing of, it was built on a graveyard, this house, it's haunted by the spirits because they're connected to the place. But if you're on a plane and you're moving through airspace, where are you connected to when you die? You're connected to the plane, I guess.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. Yeah,
definitely. I thought that was an interesting one. And also, oh my gosh, I just imagine working late, like in an old massive hangar. You're supposed to be on your own. And then you just hear knocking at the glass of one of the planes, and you turn around and someone's there grinning at you. Oh my god, the thought of that!
Don't like that.
No, don't like that. Yeah,
that's the worst thing.
Very creepy. Very creepy. Yeah. Was there any other stories that we wanted to discuss this evening?
Yeah, we have more, I believe. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, I hope so. Now that I've said it. We have some very late submissions from Microtech 5871.
We did.
We did indeed.
We did indeed. Shall we read? I think. Ooh. Well, fellas, I think Microtech 5871, who's in the chat, thank you very much for staying with us, has submitted 3 stories.
Ooh. We can do one each.
Okay, cool.
We can do one each. There you go.
Sounds good.
Let's see what Microtech has to offer.
Shall I go first?
Go for it.
Okay. So, Microtech says, years ago, I worked for a trucking company, and during my training, I was told of a story that happened a few months before I started working there. A driver working for that company stopped at a truck stop for fuel, but ended up taking the truck to score drugs. When the driver arrived at his destination, the dealer was fighting with his own girlfriend, and the driver tried to be the hero, so he picked up the dealer's girlfriend and left the house in his truck. The dealer followed the truck, and at the next red light, got out of the car, shot the truck driver through the door, killing him.
God.
When the trucking company staff went to pick up the damaged truck, they found the entire cabin covered in blood. The truck was taken back to the dealership to be refurbished and placed back in rotation. Every new driver that was assigned that truck reported feeling as though someone was in the cab with them.
Ooh, no.
And a few drivers went as far as reporting that they would see a person sitting in the driver's seat whenever they'd be walking towards the truck.
That's
Ooh.
interesting, actually. That's kind of touches on this
It's-
similar
yeah.
to the last story of like
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
spirits
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
linked to an inanimate object or a vehicle. Yeah, very creepy and a horrible
That's a
story
great one.
as well. Yeah, like
Yes.
Yeah, horrible for the
Oh.
truck driver, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. All right. Try read the second one. Okay. So he says that this experience actually happened to me directly while I was a truck driver. So while I was a truck driver, I would frequently arrive home in the middle of the night, and being quite tired, I just lay down and sleep before heading out to deliver the following day. This one time, I came home around 2 a.m. and went to bed. The bedroom was set so that you could look down the hallway of our home from the bed, and I would have the whole light on, not to have the house pitch black. Sometime after going to sleep, I woke up to see a dark figure / silhouette standing in the hall about 10 feet from the bedroom doorway. Just out of reflex, I sat straight up and I started to get out of bed. But the figure bolted down the hall, and that made me instinctively get out of bed and chase the shadow, only to reach the end of the hall in the kitchen and found that no one was there. Full disclosure about my home, my mum and dad both passed away in that house.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's really creepy. So my initial reaction at the start of that story, I was thinking, is this sleep paralysis? Is this just your sleep paralysis demon? But the fact that you sat up immediately and chased them out, you couldn't do that with sleep paralysis. So that's really odd, really bizarre. Wow. Shall I read the final one?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Final story, again tied to truck driving. A colleague shared a story that he experienced when he was driving trucks years ago. He was doing an overnight shift and ended up pulling over off the highway near some gas stations and restaurants. He laid down in the sleeper compartment and was woken a few hours later to find a small child in the truck asking him if he had seen his father. My colleague...
Oh, no.
Yeah, they don't like it.
No.
My colleague was half awake, half asleep, and said he didn't know how to answer, but when he finally came around to the reality that a child was in his truck, he found no one in the cab and eventually went back to sleep. When he woke up the next morning, he made a reference to his experience when talking to gas station staff, and he was shocked to find out that there had been other people with the same story. Turns out there was a big car accident in the same area, which involved a family, and during the accident, the family members had been ejected from their vehicle, which inferred that the apparition my colleague saw was in fact one of the deceased children looking for their dad. Nope. That is horrifying. I did not like that at all.
Didn't like that.
Scary.
At least it was a harmless ghost, but that's the best thing you can say about that story. I would not stop there again if I were a truck driver if I could avoid it.
Basically,
stay out there.
Just don't become a truck driver. It sounds awful. There's ghosts everywhere.
Yeah.
Can't deal with it. I'm never becoming a truck driver. It's too risky.
That's definitely the major drawback of becoming a truck driver, isn't it, Martin? Yeah. Ghosts.
That's definitely, that is the reason not to do it at the moment.
Yeah.
What's the, you get the code for radio, like 10.4 or whatever is except,
What's the one for ghosts?
What's the code? What's the code for ghosts?
Oh. I could see with that last one actually though that like I'm imagining him going into the gas station or like nearby and telling someone that story and then just kind of messing with him and being like, but they've been dead for 10 years, you know. Wait, you saw a little boy? Where? You're probably talking about this crash that happened there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You telling me you had a little boy in your cabin? No, it was a ghost.
I mean, I thought I was wondering about the truck driver was surprisingly nonchalant about that. I thought he would panic. Maybe it was a long time ago before things got really serious about stranger danger and stuff like that. But you know,
yeah, definitely. Well, I just want to say thank you, everyone, so much for submitting all of these stories. They've been amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm very
really
happy
good.
that I could read them out with you both as well. I didn't want to read all of these out on my own, otherwise I would have trouble sleeping tonight. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for submitting these. I mean, I'm going to say these are great stories, but obviously the fact that they happened to you or people that you know is terrifying. And I really hope that you're all okay and that everybody's alive and well.
Or able to sleep at night.
Or undead and well. I mean, we've got no prejudice against the non-alive, you know, we're just saying. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, looking forward to Halloween.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I hope everyone has an amazing Halloween. But it sounds like we're wrapping up. We're not. We've still got a quiz to go.
We've got a whole quiz.
Oh yes.
And Robin, I believe you are going to be hosting the quiz for me and Martin.
I've prepared a Halloween themed quiz.
Oh, but before we jump into that, did we want to talk about some of our favorite comments from the last week?
We could do. I mean,
I didn't mention that before, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I've got a comment from Walrus the Grey Walrus, who commented on our previous episode, our last episode 90. Oh, sorry.
97?
2 episodes ago, episode 96.
Oh, okay.
Episode 96, yeah. Who was the Mad Gasser of Mattoon? Actually, kind of a creepy, spooky story that I recommend everyone goes and listen to if you haven't heard it already. Martin tells us about the Mad Gasser of Mattoon, which is actually kind of appropriate for Halloween. And Walrus the Grey Walrus says, I've been watching The Boys for a number of years now, since well into the era of the channel that shall not be named. And I'm sorry, Alex, but I'm pretty sure you are the sole reason that clown thing happened all those years ago.
Oh dear. No,
it's true. Alex is the reason.
I'm partially responsible. I'm very sorry.
Oh, he's like majorly responsible. Alex is the main,
the
main reason that happened. You know what's really weird? I forgot to send you the photos so we could show it on screen. But where I live, for the first time I've ever seen this, someone's put up a giant 6 foot by 6 foot inflatable killer clown face head outside their house. Yeah, it's huge.
That's
and it lights up and it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But even all these years later, Alex, it's reached that level where they're making ginormous inflatable heads of killer clowns.
I am not responsible for that. That's not my fault.
I do. I blame you. If that clown head falls off the wall and crushes somebody passing by, I blame you, Alex.
Yeah. Some Final Destination show going on there.
Wow. Oh, amazing. I've got
a comment.
Sorry, go ahead, Martin.
We're talking over each other. I've got a comment from Hunter Elias, who says, I live about 2 hours north of Mattoon. I started compiling a list of every supernatural and unexplained phenomena in Illinois a few months ago, including my friend's recent UFO encounter. One day, I hope to go check out most of these on a road trip with my friends. And what I've got to say is, Hunter, stay safe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sounds good. Cool.
Stay safe.
Nice. Well, I've got a comment from Laurie Hoodstall on our last podcast episode, number 97, on the clear water monster. But this was actually referencing one of our This Week We Learned, where we talked about rhinos and their connection with unicorns. Because obviously rhino horn. And they said, today I learned that the taxonomic name of the Indian rhino is Rhinoceros unicornis. So I'm guessing
there we go. That's a direct link then.
Relationship with the mythical unicorn has been known for a long time. So yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't fact check that, by the way. So I'm putting my trust in you that that's accurate. But thank you.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Interesting.
Before we move on to the quiz, I just want to respond to a comment in the chat, which is Ian William Davidson says, it's a real clown, Robin. So yeah, the thought of that clown head coming to life is terrifying.
Yeah, the rest of its body is just buried underground. It's just going to stand up and be
Yeah.
Godzilla. Yeah.
Just invisible. Just invisible.
Nice. Well, shall we move on to our quiz this week?
Yeah. Welcome to the Halloween quiz. Was it a
Beautiful. I
spooky
love
voice
that.
or
Yeah.
just a horse? We don't know. We'll find out. So, thank you, one and all, for joining us for this wonderful ghost story special episode for Halloween of the Just Interesting podcast. And because it's Halloween, we'll be having a Halloween themed quiz. All kinds of questions about all my favorite Halloween beverages. 10 questions, each one. The answer is a beer. No, that's not actually the quiz at all. The quiz is about anything Halloween, anything horror related, basically. So, gentlemen, in order to answer questions, you need to buzz in. What, prithee, are your buzzers? Martin.
Okay, I've done something a little bit funny.
I can't hear that at all.
I
Martin.
heard a girl scream, and
Okay.
then kind of faded out.
Okay, I'll maybe find a better one.
Bloody hell. Got a recording of a ghost.
Oh, it's just an advert now. Can you, Alex? You go first.
Alex,
I'm
what's your
getting
buzzer?
ads. This is no good.
Well, I've gone for possibly the scariest scene in any scary film of all time.
And then they're going to eat me. Oh my
That's brilliant.
Amazing.
That's so good.
From Troll 2.
The classic
eating her.
Troll 2, which is actually not a sequel, is it? It's called Troll 2, but it's not. It's
Oh,
not
is
a
it
sequel.
not? I haven't seen it.
No. Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm going to say to ghosts if I ever saw one. Okay, and it disappeared like in some of the stories we've had.
Okay.
Oh, classic Delia.
Let's be Avenue.
There we go. That's what I'd say.
Lovely.
That's what I'd say.
That's what
if
you'd
I ever
say,
saw a
yeah.
ghost.
Where are you? So, people listening to us in the live chat can join in. It's the exciting thing about being live. Please do put your answers in the chat. The first 3 people to get the correct answer can give themselves a point. We work on the honors system here, so we trust you to keep a tally. And shall we begin?
Let's do it.
Question number 1. A little bit of a history question for you to kick things off. From what country does the tradition of carving a jack-o'-lantern originate? I mean, I heard, oh my God. It
So
could just be
loud.
because it was so loud,
Oh, is
but
it?
I heard
Okay.
it.
I'm sorry, I'll turn it down. I mean, I don't know. Is it an American thing? Is it the US?
Incorrect.
Oh.
Ooh, I think it's closer to home.
Hmm.
2 options. Let's go for. Oh yeah, I tried to do my buzzer.
Yes,
gonna
Martin.
Go for a pumpkin. That's gonna be I think Celtic. Ireland.
It is Ireland.
Oh, very
Correct.
good. Very good
Correct. Well, I mean, Alex, you're half right because the pumpkin tradition comes from America.
It's
Irish
wasn't always
immigrants.
pumpkins, was it?
It wasn't. It was originally the classic vegetable is turnip.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
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 Comes from the Irish, indeed, and probably the Scots too. But there's so much crossover there.
I was going
Culturally
to guess,
speaking,
but
it's
it
hard
was
to tell.
between those 2 that I was going to guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commonly attributed to Ireland. Certainly the earliest records, I think, from Ireland. So, yeah, people in the chat, a few people got it. Good knowledge. I believe the first person to get it was Doom, and then a Busy Bee
Oh, nice.
managed to insert it into the greeting, evening, guys. So we got evening, Ireland, guys. And then next person to get it, I know. Next person to get it was Toffee Man Matt. Well done.
Oh,
Toffee Man Matt, is this your first time joining us live? I don't recall, certainly in the chat, I don't remember your name.
That's really rude if he has joined us.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry if I've
He's here
lost,
every
if I've
single
overlooked you before, every single week. Apologies. Yeah, on to question number 2. 1-0 to Martin.
Okay.
This is the closest wins. So fingers on your buzzers, and hopefully they're equally voluminous so that I can hear them. When closest wins? When was the first Gothic horror novel published?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's very tough. First
Okay.
Gothic novel.
Martin, yeah.
Why not? I'll give it a go first. I'm going to go for 1799.
That's a strong guess.
Interesting. Going quite early, yeah. Yes, Alex.
You said 1799.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go a bit later than that. I'm going to go 1820.
Okay. Well, the first Gothic horror novel was called The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole, who wrote it or published it in 1764.
Damn it!
So Martin was close, only 35 years late, which, yeah, good guess, Martin. Good knowledge there. Educated guess, I guess.
I don't know why I went 99.
You just kept yourself in the 18th century.
To try and bamboozle the opponent.
Do you know what? I would like to call shenanigans on that. I would say, because you said when Martin guessed, and admittedly, I took it as an unfair clue, but I think it was the opposite of an unfair clue because Martin guessed and you said, "Oh, you've gone early."
Oh, did I?
You
Sorry.
threw me off.
I threw you off. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Well, it's a shame that you beat me in the last quiz, Alex. Well,
I feel like there's some bias going on.
It's every week now, Alex. Every week,
everyone's
mate.
on
Yeah, well, we just pick on you, Alex.
Every week.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments said justice for Alex a while ago, and I'm inclined to agree at this point.
I think they're quite right. Yeah, quite right. We got some great guesses. I think people generally in the right ballpark. I mean, obviously, a wide range from 1529 to 1892, but everyone appreciates that Gothic horror has been around a while. I think the closest dates we've got in the chat come from Desolator Magic, who said 1792, a bit closer than Martin. Little Miss Stella said 1700, so I think that's pretty close. But definitely point to one that goes to Desolator Magic. Well done. So, question number 3,
very good.
and it's 2-0 to Martin. Fingers on buzzers, gents. I think you can both get this one.
Okay.
This month, a horror author is making a big return with their newest book, Terror Tome. Who is it? Yes, Alex.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm just going to guess. Is it Stephen King?
It's not Stephen King.
Oh, what?
I don't really know many horror authors, I've got to be honest.
No, I don't.
Who would write horror? They're a traditional horror author.
They've written nothing but horror, and they're making a long-awaited return.
I'm pretty sorry. I just don't know much about horror authors at all.
No.
Okay. Well, I can give you a clue.
What's it called? Terror Tome.
Terror Tome.
Terror Tome.
One word,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
This is a fictional horror author.
Ooh.
This is a fictional.
Yes, Martin, I heard Delia there.
Could it be Count Dracula?
No. Interesting guess.
Long-awaited
He's
sequel.
written a story.
It's not a sequel. They're just making a comeback. They're writing a new story.
But the author isn't real. It's fiction.
The
I don't
author is...
understand what the situation is with this question.
It's a horror author
Who doesn't exist.
who isn't real.
Fictional.
It's
How can they be
publishing
making
a book.
comeback? What do you mean they're publishing a book? If they're not real, if they're fictional.
Can't give too many clues.
Oh, yeah.
That was the clue.
Okay, well, I'm happy to have another clue, to be honest. If you
Think about people in the chat are getting it. People in the chat are getting it. Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
This is
Fictional horror
rubbish.
author.
I'm joking. Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know. This is
Oh,
Oh,
it's not like okay.
Yeah.
No, I was going to make a joke.
Oh, go make a joke.
I was going to say Garth Marenghi.
It is Garth Marenghi. It is.
You
It
serious?
is Garth. Yeah, it is Garth Marenghi
What?
making a comeback
What?
with
Really?
Teratome. Yeah,
God, there's more Garth Marenghi coming.
yeah. This month, published this month,
What?
Wait,
Oh,
and-
I'm so excited. I missed this completely.
an
That's
actual
amazing.
book. Yeah, an actual book this time.
So there's
Short story collection, Teratome.
Are
Are you
I,
serious? I
is
was
this-
joking.
I need to know, is this like, because I'm confused with what is fictional and what is reality in this story. So they're publishing a book in real
A real
life
book is being published. Yes,
based on
About Garth Marenghi, yeah.
That's
No,
so
by
cool.
by the
by Garth
author
Marenghi.
Garth Marenghi,
Yes.
who is
What?
not real, but the comedian
Wow.
or people behind
Sorry,
it.
you
are
said loads of people in the chat got that.
a few. Yeah, after
Really?
I said it was
Yeah.
fictional, after I gave the fictional clue, they got it.
Okay.
Oh
First
my
person to
gosh.
get Garth Marenghi
That's
was
exciting.
Mr. G Beer 777,
I love Garth Marenghi.
and then it was blood.
Mm.
Bits
know-
are sick.
Do you know what clue you should have
Oh,
given
I
us?
couldn't even finish that.
I would have got it.
Yeah.
I would have got it.
I was
instantly
gonna. Yeah.
if you'd said he's one of the few authors that's written more books than he's read.
Well, but it's red. Yeah.
I would have got it instantly.
I saw Garth Marenghi live a few years ago.
Did you?
Stand up? Yeah.
Really?
It
Yeah.
was at the Mighty Boosh Festival,
Of course. Yeah.
and Matt Holness did. Yeah, he did a stand up.
Nice. Well, Luca Jaeger also got Garth Marenghi, and then Brian Jenkins. So
Nice.
those are the top three.
Nice.
And I'm a bit sad I let you make that joke guess, Martin, because I really wanted to say he self-describes as a dreamweaver.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh man, no, I was joking. So I was just like a comedic,
Yeah.
not horror, not a real horror author. Yeah, it's the only one I could think of, which is kind of embarrassing, really.
I am really
Okay.
gutted I didn't get that one. Actually, that's down. Yeah.
It's all right. You didn't have enough clues. That was the problem. Okay, question number 4.
Cool.
Who directed the zombie horror classics Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead?
Oh, so I don't know.
Now,
Mm.
I have to say, I watched this for the first time
Oh, yeah.
last night, and I
Okay.
didn't look.
Seriously?
Yes,
Seriously?
Yes, seriously. Yes, seriously.
Are
What,
they-
Night of the Living Dead?
Are they
Dawn of
like,
the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah, does begin with an A? An A in the surname. Something A.
Oh, I'm not going to.
I think it's like something like Aguilio. Because there's the Aguilio cut or something I saw as well, but I only watched the cinematic.
Okay, yeah. Theatrical
some-
cut. Incorrect.
Okay. I'm probably not going to get much closer than that, to be honest.
if this isn't like one of the major directors, then I'm definitely not going to get it. I'll have a guess.
Ah.
I'll have a guess.
Yeah, have a guess.
Was it Alfred Hitchcock? Probably after his time. Or
No, actually, Alfred Hitchcock was making films in the 70s, but no, it was not Alfred Hitchcock.
Was it like 1979 or 1980? Was it?
68, 78, and 85 were the 3 films. Yeah.
Okay.
The chat is embarrassing you fellas, I'm afraid. They're
That's
all
fine.
over it.
Oh, they've
They're
got
all
access
over
to
it.
Google though, haven't they? So
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Well, not Mr. Jabir 777, I don't think. Definitely gone by memory, I think. And Gurgolia as well. But
No, I don't think we're going to get this one. I think mine's
I'm not sure I can give you a clue that's really going to help.
no.
I can give you their first name. Maybe the surname will come to mind if I give the first
That's
name. First name is George.
George.
And the stony silence is like a graveyard.
George.
You've once again
George.
overestimated our film knowledge,
No.
Robin.
Okay.
I don't think the
Okay.
director. I don't think was it the director you say?
Director, yeah. Well, he also
Yeah,
wrote
no.
them, so that's why
Nah.
he's associated so much with the zombie genre. Okay, well, it was George Romero. Martin, I know where you're coming from because his middle initial was A, and sometimes he's credited as George A. Romero. So I
Who did
You were
the
so
other
close.
cut then? There's like another cut of it. Dawn of the Dead. I was like, oh, which one should I choose to watch? The standard one or the something cut? I can't remember what it was called.
I'm trying to remember. It might be called the Romero cut because he did release an extended kind of director's cut of it. I think there's 3 or 4 cuts of Dawn of the Dead available, actually.
Different cuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, 3 different cuts.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, people in the chat were hot on that thing, but only 3 can give themselves a point, I'm afraid, because them's the arbitrary rules that we've decided. So the first 3 people to get George Romero were Hey Now Paulie, Doom, and Brian Jenkins and Jamie Irving can both give themselves a point. Brian only gave us the surname, but I mean, we assume you knew the first name. But you 4 can give yourself points. Okay,
enough.
on to question 5, and I think you both know the answer to this one. So, fingers on buzzers. What is the name of the serial killer in the Halloween film franchise? I heard Alex. Oh my god. And Martin's shaking his head.
It's Michael Myers, isn't it?
It is Michael Myers.
Yes! Yes!
Are you feeling horny, baby?
Yes!
No. Well done, Alex. Alex has got a point. He's in the game. And he was ahead of the chat, I think. So what was that? 3-1 to Martin, I believe?
It's 3-1, yes.
3-1 to Martin.
Okay.
In the chat, first people to get there were Doom again, Brian Jenkins, and Hey Now Paulie. Oh gosh, it's a little group there. Oh, sorry. Microtech 5871 says that they got there first with Romero, and you are correct. I did not see your comment. You were so early, I didn't see it.
Aww.
So give yourself a point. I'm sorry. That means no. Everyone I said can give themselves a point. Those 5 people can have a point.
Yeah,
the rules don't matter. We're making them up as we go along.
Points.
Yeah.
Unless you want to take away some of Martin's points, I'll allow it. But that's...
Well, we'll see. We'll see. So this might be a head scratcher, but I think you can get this one.
Okay.
So fingers on buzzers. Question number 6. Which classic horror monster's name comes from the Persian word for wax?
Classic horror monster name. Persian word for wax.
Ooh. Horror monster. Persian word from wax.
I'm trying to think why would it even be? Is it kind of? I suppose I can't ask.
I mean, you can ask.
Oh, what about
Doesn't mean I'll answer.
No.
Classic horror monster. Persian word.
Just trying to think of a horror monster now.
Yeah, and one that has a presumably like an interesting name. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. We might need a clue.
Okay, first clue. Think of the classic movie monsters. One of them has a name that doesn't really seem appropriate, does it?
I'm trying to think of the classic horror monsters now.
Yeah. Yes, Alex?
Is it? I mean, it doesn't seem appropriate. But the Mummy.
It is the Mummy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. We take the name mummy from the Arabic word mumia, which is to do with embalming.
Wax, right.
Okay.
And yeah, the term embalming in Arabic is derived from the Persian word for wax, which is mum.
Fair enough.
That's where it comes from. Yeah.
When I'm talking about classic horror movie, we're obviously referring to the Brendan Fraser films, right?
We are, of course, yeah.
Classics.
Yeah.
Not the black and white. That didn't exist.
Movie history doesn't go beyond the year 1999.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 7.
Okay.
Did anyone,
and it's 3-2.
Anyone in the chat get that?
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, thank you, Alex, for reminding me. Right. That was interesting to see people trying to figure it out in the chat, but a few people did get it spot on. Which I think the first was Jamie Irving got it first. Castlelad Paza got it too, and Toffee Man Matt. Well done.
Well done.
Very
well
nice.
done all.
Well done.
One and all. And then a conversation about mothers started. So let's move on to question number 7.
Classic. Descent.
What is the best-selling Stephen King novel?
I think Martin got there.
I think I heard Martin. Yeah, I think I heard Martin. Yeah.
I was going to say It.
It is not it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Alex.
I'll go The Shining.
It is The Shining.
That's my
1977.
them up between the two.
It was his best-selling novel when it was published, and it stayed his best-selling novel. It's just still racking up the sales.
Yeah.
Well
He's
done.
back in the game.
Going into question 8. There's all to play for. But quickly, anyone in the chat, did they get it? Most people guessed It, actually, thinking along the same lines. I would have guessed It as well. I think at this point in time, It is probably his most famous novel, thanks to the movies, I guess.
Somehow you're blaming
the Killer
me
Clown.
for the Killer Clown phrase.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, it happened like 2 years before that film came out, didn't it, Alex? You were definitely to blame. Yeah.
You literally, you urged them, you pressed them on to make the movie. Really,
you did. You totally inspired them.
It
we weren't going to make it otherwise.
It was the same year because there was the whole.
Not the same year. It was the year before.
It was the same year. Wasn't it?
Yeah, the theory, because it was like a year before the film came out. We hadn't even seen a teaser trailer, and the Killer Clowns were doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure we'd seen.
Alex, don't contradict us about what you did, mate. We know the timeline of your life.
There's only one person to blame here. It is you.
And it's clearly you.
And in fairness, I don't know why I'm even going toe to toe on like film knowledge with you. I was like, no, I know down to the day when that film came.
I don't actually. No. I'm quite happily be proven wrong on the Killer Clown, Alex's Killer Clown video versus the release of it. Anyway, people who got it were Doom did it first, I believe, and Desolator Magic got it. And the next person to get it was Lilma Stella. Well done.
Very good. Very good.
Nice.
Ooh, Paul Wright. Just out of interest, Paul Wright guessed The Stand. And I believe The Stand is Stephen King's best-selling non-horror novel. So
okay.
That's a good guess. But yeah. Okay, question number 8. Fingers on buzzers.
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of the 1982 remake of the 1951 film about an ancient alien being uncovered in Antarctica? I think that was Alex.
Yeah. I don't. In Antarctica. The Thing?
Yeah. It is The Thing. Yeah.
It's The Thing. Yeah. Okay. I didn't.
It's The Thing. Yeah.
It's
The Thing. Yeah.
In like the Arctic or something, but it's been ages since I've seen that.
They're The Thing. Yeah. And the chat was completely on that, except someone guessed Predator. That's just wrong. But yeah, first 3 people to guess it right were Mr. Jabir 777, Brian Jenkins, and Microtech 5871. Well done. Give yourselves a point.
Very good.
I believe we're 4-3 to Alex going into question number 9.
I've fallen at the horror movie stage. There's been an absolute glut of horror movie questions. I just haven't seen any.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
apart from Dawn of the Dead.
Apart from the one that you watched last night.
Yeah. It's about one of about 5 horror films I've seen.
Well, this is a slight twist on the whole horror thing.
Okay.
The Star Wars film Rogue One resurrected which British actor famous for his career in Hammer horror films?
I know who this is referring to.
You can see the face, but you can't.
I'm not gonna get his
name.
I can't see his face. Who did he play?
He played Grand Moff Tarkin.
Good time. Oh yeah. He died, right? He died, and then they brought it back as like CG.
Exactly. Well, the question is: the Star Wars film Rogue One resurrected which British actor famous for his career in Hammer horror films using CGI, state-of-the-art technology?
Is it Christopher something? Rings a bell.
I mean, you could always make a guess.
I don't know what his surname is. No, it's not be that, is it? Christopher Jones. I have no idea.
That was incorrect.
No, I don't think we're going to get this one.
No, neither of you?
I don't think so. Even has it.
So I'll give you a small clue. It might trigger something. His surname sounds a lot like the soft things you'd put on a settee.
Okay.
Yes, Alex.
Is it? I don't know his first name, but is it some? I'm just gonna go Peter Cushings.
That's right.
Is that right?
It's Peter Cushing. Yeah, it's spot on. Yeah, Peter Cushing.
Oh, I said Cushing.
Hold on a second.
Cushings.
Hold on a second.
I didn't say Cushings.
I heard you say Cushing the second time.
I said
You said Peter
Cushing.
Cushings, and you said Peter Cushing.
All right. Okay, fine. That's the way you want to win. That's the
I
way you're
don't
gonna
want
win?
to. I don't want to win that way. But I mean, I
Was this, you said?
I
Did
got
you say
so
you said
close.
cushion? Right.
I said.
He said
cushion.
Cushions.
I said cushions. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Martin was thinking Christopher Lee, who
No, I
was
wasn't.
also.
I wasn't thinking Christopher Lee. I know
No.
Christopher Lee.
Well,
is-
you were, because he was Peter Cushing's best friend, and they both graduated in the Hammer horror films, and
I
they were
wasn't
both in
thinking
Star
Christopher-
Wars.
I promise you, I was not thinking Christopher Lee. I know
Look,
Christopher Lee is.
Martin, just
All
drop
right,
it.
okay.
You were
But
thinking
you
of
said Christopher,
Lee.
so
Yeah, I was thinking might have
Okay.
also been called Christopher.
You were thinking of
Okay.
the prequels. You were thinking of the
Okay.
prequels when Christopher Lee was in the prequels. That's what
Oh, you
were
also said cushions. Wasn't even Cushing.
thinking. I will look. I will.
Okay.
I will
It's
accept
fine.
half a point.
There's-
and we
It's
can
wrong
move
on two.
There's still a
fronts.
chance for you to try, Martin. There's still a chance for you to
this-
try.
Ridiculous.
I'll accept half a point and we can move on. How about that? I got the first name and most of the
That is
second.
No.
that is
There's a
actually-
chance for Martin to
That's
tie.
outrageous. You said
There's a
cushions.
chance. There's an absolute chance for Martin to
Wasn't
tie
even
with our final
Cushing.
question. I heard him say Cushing the second. He said it twice, and I heard him say Cushing. Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
Hold up. So what happened there?
gosh.
Who's getting the point? What's going on?
Alex is
did you
getting a
say?
full point.
What
the
did
score,
you say?
The score is 4-3 going into question 10. Martin has a chance to equalise,
But
and
I-
then it'll be down to the
wait,
tiebreaker.
Hold up, though, because if I get the point, have I added the point? I don't think we were 3-all before this. I think I was.
Were you not
4-3.
3-all?
I haven't added a point
Already?
yet because it was. We were
In that
deciding-
case,
I don't.
in that
think.
case, we're going to give yourself a point. If Martin gets the next question correct, he'll get 2 points for
But
it,
that's
and you'll tie.
insane. Why would we do that? Why don't we?
I'm the quiz master. I'm the quiz master, and you're going to go what I say.
Okay,
All right.
so there's 2 points
Okay.
in this one.
There's 2 points in this next question for
This
no
is
reason
just a
other than I've
farce.
just decided. But before we go into the final and dramatic question,
Christopher Cushions.
the
What has this
first
become?
3 people
Cushions.
to get Peter Cushing
Cushion.
correct were
Cushions. Plural. And they're ridiculous.
But I mean, the effect is still the
Spiffing.
same. I didn't get the point. We've just decided to give me a point and then double the
Yeah.
points for the last question. So it doesn't matter either way.
Okay, I'm reading out people in the chat who got the question right. Spiffing was the first person to get Peter Cushing. Mr. Jabir 777 misspelled, but you got the sounds right. Peter Cushing, and then the next person I think was Castle Lad Paza. Well done. Okay, and now this chaotic. I feel trapped. I'm like I can't do anything to please anybody. I just
Well, I think it's pretty
Whoever-
obvious, isn't it? If you get it wrong, you get the answer wrong.
whoever
It's wrong.
wins, I lose. It's like Alien versus Predator, but not as fun. Okay, we're going into question number 10. Oof. It's a closest wins.
Just look at the ears.
Okay, so there's literally a 50-50 chance of getting the equalizer, Martin. So you can't ask for fairer than that. Closest wins. In the Friday the 13th film series,
Oh God, no.
how many people did Jason Voorhees kill?
Hmm.
Over the course of the entire series of films?
Oh no!
Make your guess.
Do you know
Closest
what? I
wins.
feel like at some point I've done this in a quiz. Maybe
I think we
years and years
have,
You've had this
yeah.
ago,
before, yeah.
I think we have, yeah.
of or it was like which slasher character has killed the most people, and I can't
Yeah.
remember how many he did. But I haven't seen Friday the 13th. This film. So
No,
I don't even know
seen any of those.
is it like
It's-
what's the kill death ratio? What's the
How many films are there?
how many
There are
kills per second?
12 films, yeah.
12.
And yeah,
Blimey.
so that could give you a rough idea how many to guess.
Yes.
Yes, Alex, what's your guess?
I'm going to say a grand total of. Did you say 12 films?
12 films, yes.
I'm going to say he's killed 85 people.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Okay.
tough. 12 films.
Yeah.
That's 7 people per film. I think I've guessed this before and I went way too high. And I was like, oh, okay, there's quite a few, but not that many. I think
Right.
one of the later films, you went mental and killed like 30 people or something. But it still wasn't as high as I thought. So I'm going to go for a little bit higher, but not too much higher, like 104 or something. Yeah, 104. Why not?
Okay. I was seeing the chat just to see if anyone's got it spot on in the chat.
Yeah.
Before I reveal the
identify
answer.
Google, the people using Google. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, people got close, but no one's got it spot on. The correct answer is over the course of 12 films, Jason Voorhees killed 157 people.
Oh my god.
Oof.
Yeah, I know. So Martin is closest. Martin gets his 2 points,
Martin
which
gets
means
2
it's a
points.
tie.
Thanks to
Martin
Peter Cushions.
because
I want to dedicate that point to
So
Peter Cushions.
Martin gets 2 points because I slightly got the name wrong.
No. You were told it sounds like something on a settee or a sofa, and you said cushions. Like,
which is what the clue was.
Which is right.
Yeah.
But that's like saying, that's just ridiculous. You're given a clue that couldn't be anything else.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween, and this point just appeared out of nowhere.
It could have
So
been,
now it's 5-all.
It could have been Peter Pillows. So.
Or an insight into Alex's life. Peter Prostitute. What?
What? Robin?
What? I'm not saying anything.
This is just slander
not
at this
libel.
point.
Okay. Well, I think
it's like saying what Tory Prime Minister, led the Brexit referendum, and you saying, "Oh, it sounds a little bit like something you would take film with," and someone saying, "Oh, David Camera," you saying, "Yeah, no, it's close enough."
he said it twice, and I heard Cushing the second time. So anyway, closest I think was Toffee Man Matt with a guess of 174, but other honourable mentions were, I believe, do a bit of mental maths here, Paul Wright and Brian Jenkins. Yeah, nice. Well done, chaps and chapesses. On to the bonus question, which not for once, this happened before, but it's now the deciding question. Heart beating fast. It's like that moment. It's like the moment in Aliens when the motion tracker is beeping frantically. Oh my gosh. Right. Question 11. It's another closest wins.
Yeah.
And I feel like you both have a chance of getting this right because you've both been wonderful comrades and friends, as you always have been, and supported me every step of the way in the way that I create videos for this channel. And the question is, in what year did Bram Stoker publish the novel Dracula?
Oh no!
No, don't do it to us, Robin.
What are you saying? You didn't watch my video where I said it?
Can't remember anything.
It was on screen, mate. It's on screen.
Yeah,
it was only a month ago. Surely you remember it from a month ago.
I know. I do remember. It was the mid 19th century, around 1850. I can't remember the exact date. So I'm going to go 1850.
Okay, Martin's guessing 1850.
I want to say a tiny bit earlier. I want to say 1837.
The correct answer is 1897.
Oh, blimey. Sorry, we're quite far out. Oh.
No!
Alex, I felt like you had an open goal there. Martin was 47 years away, and I was like, you can do this, Alex. You can. And you went the wrong way.
Oh, Peter Cushions.
Peter bloody Cushions.
So
Cushions.
Martin wins the quiz and can chalk another victory up on the chalkboard.
Does this one even count? This is the Halloween special.
I don't know. I don't think this counts. Actually, I don't think this counts.
Doesn't count.
This is a Halloween, a bit of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He can't. He can't win the season, Robin. We can't let him get away with this again. He can't keep getting away with this.
Okay. Well, in the chat, let's just see who got. I saw one person get the date exactly right, and I hope that's because they're such a fan. They know the date, and that was Archaic Arts. Got it spot on with 1897. Well done. A few people. I mean, everyone was in the right ballpark. Brian Jenkins, 1892. Same with Gurgoyle. Lots of people. Most people, yeah, in the latter half of the 19th century, which is the right era. We've got Hey Now Paulie says Alex is going to cry himself to sleep on his Peter Cushions.
This is new merchandise for the channel about to drop. Just some Peter Cushions you can buy.
Cushions.
Doom says that Robin has skipped my correct answers twice now.
Wait, Robin has skipped. Oh no.
Well, Doom, I'm sorry, but I can't see which ones. Which ones? Oh, I see. You got a little, 1897. Yeah, I see. Okay. Well done. Give yourself a point. Give yourself a point, of course. This is descending into chaos.
Can I just say, when I said Peter Cushion's, and I did say Peter Cushion's, well, I was imagining it spelled not like the actual cushions. I was imagining it Cushens. I was imagining that as a surname. I thought that was more surname.
I mean, that it's possible.
It's the speed, Robin, that you validated the answer. Yep, great. Move on to the next question. No, wait, hold on.
I thought it was taking too long. I just thought it was taking too long. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I take the point that you would have had a chance if I'd been strict and said, "Sorry, Alex, you're close but no cigar," then it might have prompted you to get the correct answer, Martin. Yes, I denied you a chance to get it correct, but then you won the quiz, and it's the Halloween special quiz. So luckily, it doesn't matter for the long-term seasonal ranking. But
we just made up as soon as the quiz finished.
Alex is finally taking the mask off. Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
Halloween's over, folks.
I feel like
the mask is off.
I feel like
the mask is off.
I feel like that's genuinely like giving me a rash on my face. That's like, oh wow.
Oh no, that's really bad. Yeah.
That's been scratching all night. Horrible stuff.
I think
it's not worth it being a highwayman.
If you've got a nasty rash, you could try blood.
What?
Yes.
What?
It helps. It helps. Blood helps.
Bathing in some blood.
Bathing blood. Some lady bathery stuff. Just go for it.
Yeah, it's really popular with the countesses, I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to just leave something for all of our listeners. I feel like this is a component that we haven't included in today's episode, and we really, really should.
Okay.
Is there anyone here that wants to make contact?
Yeah, there we go.
If anyone is in these woods, show yourselves. Did anyone die here? Is Dick Turpin here? Is Dick Turpin in these woods? Show yourself.
Okay.
Boudica?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And that is how you tell a ghost story.
Spiffing in the chat says riddle, and we should say.
Oh, that's true. We should. Yeah.
So I read it out
riddle.
again.
Yeah. Yes, please, because I really.
So the riddle, just to remind everyone, this week was the person who built it sold it. The person who bought it never used it. The person who used it never saw it. What is it? Did either of you have any answers to this one? Or did anyone in the comments have an answer to this?
No idea at all.
No.
Person who
saw it. Person who built it, never used it.
Never used it.
No, sold it.
The person who built it sold it. The person who bought it never used it.
Never used it. Person who
used it never saw it.
If you bought it, did you? Sure, if you bought it, you used it. Or maybe not. You bought it for someone else.
And is it a spooky thing?
It is a spooky thing. It's related.
I've just seen in the comments, and yes, people have got it.
Oh, he's looking at the comments. Okay, well,
that's it.
Right. What is the answer?
So the answer is coffin. It's a coffin.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Oh, that's clever. That's clever.
Let's see who got it in the comments. Someone's
that's very good.
Just now. Desolator Magic in the comments. I think was the first person I've seen that got it, and I'm sorry if I've missed someone. But well done, Desolator Magic.
Well done. Yeah. That's a good one. That's tricky.
That's good. Yeah. Nice.
But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robin, for that quiz. Questionable rules towards the
end. Thank you for playing.
But I mean, I appreciated it, and I this made me want to go back and rewatch some of those old horror films now, those classics.
Me too. Yeah.
What would you guys recommend? Because as I say, I'm not really an aficionado. I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I saw that a couple of days ago. Then moved on to Dawn of the Dead. I was like, there are certain pop culture references.
Some classics. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to do to get a few under my belt as reference points. Other than those two and a couple of others, I really haven't seen that many.
What about the classic Universal horror films? They're short. They're all about an hour long. Hour and 10 minutes each. Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Wolfman. The Wolfman's a beautiful film. Dracula, of course. Dracula, actually, 1931 with Bela Lugosi. The classic. Look into my eyes. Good, but a bit dull by today's standards. It was made in 1931, where they're just coming out of the silent era. So there's no real music in it, and there's just lots of slow scenes.
Yes. Yeah.
Other ones. I mean, Day of the Dead, the sequel to Dawn of the Dead is amazing. I feel like the 90s was a bit apart from the Scream films, which are fantastic, the 90s was a bit dry when it came to
28 Days Later.
classic
When
horror.
was that?
That was the noughties, but yeah, 28 Days Later is a good horror, good zombie horror movie. Yeah.
I like Shaun of the Dead. That's fun.
Shaun of the Dead, of course. Yes, yeah, that's good.
I like The Thing, although that's kind of like
Thing is amazing.
That
Yeah,
kind of cosmic horror is just
yeah,
terrifying. It's
it's fantastic.
Okay.
Have you seen The Thing, Martin?
No.
Oh, you've got to watch it. Watch The Thing.
Okay.
Watch The Thing. Yeah,
that's the one.
It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And if you if you're feeling a bit more kind of gothic, I'd recommend Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, I've seen Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
No, that's great. Sleepy Hollow. Yeah.
Anyways,
okay, cool.
Plenty of recommendations there for our listeners as well as us ourselves. I hope whatever you guys are doing out there this Halloween, I hope you have a very spooky season, and I hope it's everything and more that you could want it to be. Go and watch all these scary films, gorge yourself on sweets and candies, and
candies.
Just have a very spooky time. It's a great time of the year, I think. I'm a big fan of Halloween. Yeah. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in the comments. And thank you for sending in your ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
They've been amazing. And I love this as like a yearly tradition doing these, these streams.
It's great.
So it's been really good fun. Thanks, everyone. And we will see you again live next Monday at 9 p.m. GMT, about like 3 p.m. Central US time, I think. But you have to check that. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, thank you, everyone, so much for tuning into this. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.